Hi there, my name is Kailyn Myshrall. I'm a junior on the University of Vermont field hockey team, and I'm the America East Student Athlete Advisory Committee Chair and the NCAA Student Athlete Advisory Committee America East representative. And I'm here today with Brenda Tracy, who is an incredible leader right now in the field of sexual and domestic assault prevention efforts. She has been really instrumental in making this a conversation that's at the forefront of college athletics right now. And we're really thankful to have her here with us at America East for this, this conversation.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So why don't we start off, you can just kind of give us a little bit of the background of your story and you know, how you started this campaign, Set the Expectation.
Yeah, so in 1998, as a young woman, I was gang raped by 4 college football players. And, you know, I got a rape kit done. I reported to the police. I did all the stuff that, you know, a good victim is supposed to do, and dealt with a lot of backlash. And the DA decided not to prosecute. And then I kind of just retreated into this life of shame and silence. You know, trying to pick up the pieces, kind of started living a double life. I didn't want people to know what had happened to me. Dealt with a lot of mental health issues, depression, PTSD, that kind of thing. But in 2014, I decided to go public with my story. And from there, it's just kind of been a whirlwind. I started, you know, speaking with athletic teams. I started a Set the Expectation campaign, which I mostly work with athletics, mostly work with men. But Set the Expectation is a campaign that really engages coaches and athletes and just the power of sports to change the conversation around sexual violence and domestic violence. And so it's been incredible, and all of my work brought me here with the America East Conference, and it was exciting to meet everyone from all the schools and everything, and just really grateful to be here and grateful and honored to be a voice for survivors.
Yeah. Well, we're really thankful to have you here to advocate, you know, for student athletes across the country. Obviously, this is something that's become really prevalent and something that people are starting to talk about, which, you know, I think as a female athlete, has become something that many are really thankful for.
Yeah.
So obviously, you know, this is a really difficult subject to talk about, and I think it really speaks to your dedication to this cause and to your story, and making sure that the student athletes that come after don't have to experience what you had to endure. So how did you talk to us about the process that you took this obviously very personal and very traumatic experience, and all of the feelings that came with that, and how were you able to transition those feelings of trauma and, you know, anger and make it into a social movement and kind of your life's work here?
I mean, I think that a lot of things come with trauma, right? Like mental health issues and, like you said, anger and different stuff. And I think that, you know, you can either kind of get stuck in all that and allow it to negatively affect your life, or you can try to find the purpose in the pain. And I think that's what I've really tried to do. I've really tried to figure out, like, you know, not necessarily why did this happen, but how can I use it to, like, take something so awful and horrible and turn it into something good. Yeah. And so I think that through sharing my story and sharing my pain with other people, I think, you know, in the beginning it was really a way to humanize myself. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people talk about sexual assault like it's an abstract concept, like, oh, it happens at that school and that big media scandal, but it doesn't happen here. Yeah. It doesn't happen to anybody I know, kind of thing. And I wanted to make it like, it's not an abstract concept. Like, we all know someone that has dealt with sexual violence. We just don't know because they haven't told us. Mm-hmm. And so I think that in an effort to humanize myself, I started sharing my story, and I was willing to be really vulnerable and transparent about exactly what happened to me. And then the response was just so overwhelmingly positive and sad. And you know what I mean? Like just having other people say, like, I feel exactly like that, and this happened to me too, and all that stuff. And so I just found a lot of power in being vulnerable, and I decided to keep on doing it because I saw the effect it was having on people. And
obviously, I mean, you've had incredible success, and it's really forged the way to have a lot of these conversations reach really high levels of, the decision making that's going on in college sports.
Yeah.
So I know you had discussed a little bit how when you initially came out with your assault, how that was received by both your community and by the media versus when you came out more recently. So talk a little bit about that. And
huge difference.
Yeah. And
huge difference.
And how you think maybe the Me Too movement and how just kind of the climate right now for change is evolving. And
well, I think that the distinction between the way I was treated both times is really, really important, because the first time, it was backlash. It was, who is she? Why is she lying? I was blamed, death threats. I lost family and friends, and a lot of people turned on me, and it was horrible. And that response to me pushed me into a really dark place, right? I started living a double life. I was suicidal. All of those things happened to me, and it affected me and my family. Especially my children that I was trying to raise, as a single depressed suicidal mother. But then the next time when I came forward in 2014, the exact opposite happened. People believed me. They loved on me. They reached out to me. Other survivors reached out to me. People supported me. They tried to help me. And look what I'm doing now. Yeah. Like, I haven't thought about suicide since I came forward with my story. That's a huge difference in my life. To go from being a person who every day for 16 years just woke up wanting to die every day, to going to a person that wakes up every day wanting to live, that alone is huge. Yeah. And I get to do the work that I do now because people believed me, and because they supported me. I wouldn't be doing this work. What if I'd come forward the second time and people were like, we don't believe you. Yeah. We hate you, go away. What if they had done that to me again? I wouldn't be doing all the things that I'm doing right now. Yeah. And I think that matters. Yeah. We can believe survivors and we can support them, and who knows what they could go on to do. Yeah.
And I think something that really stuck with me hearing you speak was the idea that you take a really solution-based approach to your movement.
I do.
You target men in a way that they can be the solution, that they're not necessarily the issue. You really focus on, you call it the 90% of male student athletes. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think, first off, I think that there's no reason for me to share my story and my pain if nothing's going to come from it, right? So the idea for me of just sharing my story and then just letting it be that didn't appeal to me. I needed to make sure that if I'm going to share my pain with you and I'm going to share my trauma with you, that you do something after I'm done, right? That matters to me. And so I am a very solution-oriented based type person, and I really want to inspire people to get active, because really this is about me making sure that this doesn't happen to someone else. And so my approach with men is really that, this is their issue. Most sexual violence is perpetrated by men, like 98% of it. So this isn't a women's issue. This is a men's issue. And we have to talk about the fact that if women alone could stop sexual violence, we would have already done it, right? This wouldn't be an issue. I wouldn't be here with you right now having this conversation. But we also need to talk about the fact that, it's about 10% of our male population doing these things, which means 90% don't, right? So when we say that most sexual violence is perpetrated by men, it's also true that most men will never perpetrate sexual violence, right? Yeah. And so for me, it's about, how do I mobilize that 90% of those good men? And let's talk about what's really going on with the 90%, right? Are you complicit in your silence? Are you complicit in your inaction? Do you have the attitude of, it's not my issue, it's not my problem? Are you a good guy that's not committing violence, but not understanding that it's not enough to just not commit violence? What are you doing to help prevent it also?
Yeah. That's huge.
Yeah.
And you've had a lot of success in that idea and in that framing of the issue.
Yeah.
So you've come out with the Tracy Rule, which is named after you. It's a zero tolerance policy to domestic and sexual violence.
It's the most serious, or it's the most comprehensive serious misconduct policy in the country.
Yeah. And so you've had success with schools implementing it. The University of Texas, San Antonio has. Yep. So talk to us about that process and how this policy has really come into be an actual concrete thing.
Yeah, the work first started with another SAAC group. It was the Big Sky SAAC group, and they created a policy, a serious misconduct policy, and at that time it was the most comprehensive in the country. but I thought it could be better, and so I decided to make it more comprehensive. And then I put my name and my campaign's name on the policy, because people know who I am.
Yeah.
They know what I stand for. And so then UTSA was the first school to adopt it, and now more and more schools are getting on board and seeing the good in it, right? I think that sometimes when we talk about serious misconduct policies, because it prevents an athlete from playing sports, we think of it just as punitive. Oh, you're just trying to ruin people's lives, and what about second chances and all that, right? But the Tracy Rule is not just punitive. It's a mechanism to shift a culture. It's a mechanism to say, your behavior matters just as much as your grades. So the same way that we assist our athletes with making sure they get to class on time and they have all the proper grades, and do you need a tutor, and do you need this or that to make sure they stay eligible with their grades, we can do the same with behavior. And I think that in our society, we don't talk enough with our athletes and our young people about consent and healthy relationships and all these things. But once eligibility is attached to behavior, you're going to have a conversation. You have to, because now we know that if this athlete gets in trouble, they're going to lose their eligibility. So we're going to want to step in early and say, are you okay? What's going on in your life? Who are you hanging out with? Right? Do you know what consent is? Are you in a healthy relationship? Right? So it's a mechanism to help shift a culture also, and care about our athletes, because I care about the athletes I work with. I do. I love them. I care about them.
That's awesome. I think it really opens up a lot of those conversations that are really important and right now are lacking.
Oh, completely, yeah. Well, and it's for a lot of different reasons too, right? Like people think, oh, if I don't talk about it, maybe it'll go away. Or I'm uncomfortable. I don't know how to talk about it. But I enjoy going to campuses and meeting with people like you and the SAAC leaders to just say, like, we have to talk about this.
And I think it's really remarkable how you bring attention to the idea that sport can be a really unique environment to talk about these conversations that in society can be really difficult to have. And athletics can be a really good mechanism to create change for a lot of things that as a society we are trying to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, because what's bigger in America than sports?
Exactly, yeah.
Right? I mean, what is there's no bigger platform than sports. And a lot of our athletes, they're already born leaders. They want to do good. They want to give back, and it's giving them, here's another issue, please use your platform to do good. But right now we're also seeing people using the platform in bad ways too, right? So it's about how do we use our platforms responsibly and push the right conversations and the right narratives.
And I think the Set the Expectation is a really good opportunity for student athletes to come and support that platform and really stand on it. So going off of that, how do you think that the student athlete voice can really push this agenda and can really be instrumental both at the campus level and the conference level, and how student athletes can get involved in this conversation if they're passionate about it? Yeah, no,
I think the athlete voice is really important. I mean, honestly, the NCAA is here because of athletes, right? Campuses are there because of the students, and student athletes are on the campus. So we have to first remember all of these governing bodies and administrators, like, let's remember who you're here for in the first place.
Student athletes.
The student athlete, right? But no, when student athletes organize and get together and push initiatives, and they come back to their campuses and they organize other people, they have such a strong voice already. People are already looking at athletics. Especially when we talk about issues of sexual violence, right? Who's in the news? It's not necessarily the biology major, it's athletics. So there's already a microscope on athletics. It's already there, it's built in. So how do we push it to get the right conversation out there? But the ripple effect from just one athlete matters. I could have one influential guy from the basketball team send out a tweet, and the ripple effect throughout the country, their community, their campus, who knows? Because people are watching them, they're looking at them. They want to know what you think. They want to know what's important to you and how can they support you and how can they help you.
So you would stress to student athletes who might be watching this video right now that if you're passionate about this, there's a platform for them to come forward.
Oh, definitely. And people want to support you in doing these good things, right? Like, I think that when athletes step up, people take notice and they want to know what's going on. They want to support you. They want to get involved. And it's just natural for, when the athletics gets on board, that the rest of the campus and the community gets on board too. We see that happen all the time. Some of our most influential people in our country are athletes.
Yeah. So I think something that I really find interesting about your initiative right now is that you kind of tackle it from two different sides. You have the Set the Expectation, which is really education and
The campaign
of it, and then you also have the Tracy Rule, which is the concrete policy that can go into place. So talk a little bit about what the Tracy Rule actually entails and how that actually does prevent and open up that conversation around domestic and sexual violence.
Yeah. So the Tracy Rule, basically, it attaches eligibility to behavior. So if you are found responsible on your campus by a Title IX proceeding or something like that, or found criminally responsible, felony, something like that in a court of law, then you are no longer able to collect a scholarship or play sports. Okay. D3 level, if there's no scholarships, you don't get to play sports anymore. Okay. I think that playing sports is a privilege and not a right. I think that when we put people on that platform, they should be good people of good character, because so many people are watching you. And so, it takes away the eligibility part of playing sports.
That's awesome. And so it's a document that student athletes would fill out to open up that.
Yeah, so what happens is any transfer athlete or any athlete coming into a campus has to self-disclose on a form a series of questions, which makes it very transparent about what their overall, if they had history is, right? Your overall history. Yeah. If you filled out a health questionnaire at the doctor's office.
Yeah, exactly.
We're filling out that questionnaire, and then you're filling it out every year too. So if you're a junior, but something happened over the summer before you came back to school. But this gives the athletic department and the school an overall view of the athlete and who they're bringing onto their campuses. And it's not just meant to be punitive either, right? I think that us making sure we know what's going on with our athletes around these issues. And we're not talking about small things, right? We're talking about rape, sexual assault, domestic violence, stalking. These are significant things that are going on. But, being transparent that way, it's not just about, kicking a player off a team, but it's like, what's going on in that person's life? Do we need to lean in more with education? Do they need extra support? Do we want this person on our campus at all? Those kinds of things too. So
it's solution-based, that you're trying to open up the dialogue and then, give support if support's needed.
Yeah, and there has to be some accountability too, right? And right now in this country, because the NCAA doesn't have any type of policy around this issue, right? In the 440-page rule book, there's nothing that talks about sexual violence. There are violent athletes that are getting kicked out of one school and just going to another school and then hurting someone there too. And so we have to stop that from happening. This is all preventable violence. Yeah. So why wouldn't we have policies in place to prevent these things from happening when we know they're happening? Yeah. We have documented cases. Yeah. It's time to respond.
Yeah. So if you could give one takeaway to a student athlete or someone within the realm of college athletics who is passionate about this and believes in this cause and wants to help the cause and take an action, what would that be?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day for me, it's really about we all have the ability to help or harm, right? And I think whatever your platform is and whatever your influence is in your little microcosm, whether that's just your campus or your city or the nation, what are you doing to help or harm the issue? And things like getting involved with the campaign, helping to implement the Tracy Rule, these are all things that are helpful. They prevent violence. They create cultures that are safe for survivors to step forward, but also unsafe for predators. And we have to start creating those types of communities. And athletics, they have a quicker, faster, more impact than anybody else on a campus, really. No, so if it starts there, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen.
Take off.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
It's awesome. Cool. I think it's a really powerful message to be that 90% that's helping it, not the 10% that's being the anchor. So.
Yeah, no, and I think I get tired of just kind of this divisive discussion we have between men and women, and when the truth is sexual violence doesn't discriminate. Anyone can be the victim of domestic violence, sexual violence. Anyone can be a perpetrator. These are human issues. And we all really need to just decide, are we part of the solution or part of the problem? Yeah. And then we need to band together and work together.
Yeah, I think that's a really powerful message. And I know that this is a difficult topic for you to discuss, and I think, we would be in the wrong if we didn't acknowledge how instrumental you've been in this fight to make sure that this is at the forefront of the conversation.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It means a lot to me.
Yeah.
It means a lot to me to be able to work with student athletes and know that they're going back to their campus to try to make things better for everyone else.
Yeah, it's really, you've been instrumental, so we
Thank
appreciate
you.
the opportunity to talk with you and to hopefully make sure that every student athlete out there and every administrator, coach, athletic trainer is aware of the fact that this is something that's an issue and that it's being addressed and that there is an opportunity to join that platform.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, thank you. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.